I was like, I'm balling.
You're balling.
Good.
Yeah. I was like, I'm good for life. And, and then when that company went under, I learned like money management's important. And like, I had like blown everything. Like I spent everything. I had no money management strategy. I didn't know anything about it. And I was like, okay, you can't just make money. You have to like learn how to manage it and stuff,
When does business become fun? Like when does the grind years stop? And then what do you think is the biggest component to the grind years stopping where you're trying to become established to this, you actually get to enjoy some of the fruits of your labor in business?
So I think everyone would have a little bit different opinion, but I just look at it from like a revenue standpoint of like what then becomes possible with the business. So I think the like 0 to $1 million, it's like everything's about marketing and selling. You need to get enough leads in the door. You need to sell enough of them to like get revenue. And it's a grind at that stage because you usually don't have a big team. You don't have, you're doing a lot of the things. You're wearing multiple hats. 1 to 3 million a year is, I think also it's like kind of like no man's land. I don't love the 1 to 3 million because here's the thing about 1 to 3 million is you have a successful like product market fit. Your business is doing well, but you're working either you have two choices you make. You choose to work more, like just more hours to keep scaling it up from there, or you choose to take a big chunk of your profit and hire more team members to be able to take more off of your plate. But then you take a step back in lifestyle at that 1 to 3 million mark if you do that. So it's like choose to work more or choose to take less home at 1 to 3. And so I think a lot of businesses get stuck there because they're just kind of like, you kind of flounder in that. I think at like 5 million plus is when a business gets like really nice, in my opinion, because you usually at that point have like some like mid-level like managers that are like managing departments, and they're able to take on a lot of it. And then you could, afford to pay them a good enough salary to get, B plus A players to do it. And now you actually have more freedom. So I've seen that take place a few times within businesses that I've been a part of. And like, that's just a trend that I kind of noticed was like right around that, 5 million plus, you can like actually pay the talent that you wanted when you're at the 1 to 3, but you couldn't afford, and you still get to make good money. So I think it's, and so those that are listening that are like going on their path to $1 million are like freaking probably like, are you kidding me? It's going to get worse.
Wait, what?
It gets worse.
1 to 3 million. I thought that was that was it. That's going to be the hard time.
No, but that makes so much sense, right? Because 1 to 3, you start really feeling your hard work because you're making decent money. So you have some lifestyle changes, but then it's like you can hit this ceiling that you desperately want to break through, but you're not really necessarily willing to give up your lifestyle change, so you just hit this ceiling. So do you think that that's the big, or what is the biggest mistake business owners make when they are trying to scale their business?
I guess at what revenue range? Because I think all revenue ranges have a different like thing.
That's for sure.
A different demon.
I think our audience is below 3 at this point.
Yeah. So like 1 to 3.
Yeah. So 0 to $1 million. Marketing, sales. You need more qualified leads. You need to sell more of them to your stuff. Like that's, and just do that. Like that's like the biggest thing that's going to make the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Just get enough qualified opportunities in the door, get good at, closing enough of them, and you're at $1 million. And only 7% of businesses in America are actually, above $1 million, which is crazy, right? There's 4 million small businesses in America, 7% over $1 million.
It's crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah. And so, for those that are listening that have achieved over $1 million, congratulations. You're in the 7%.
Yeah. That's cool.
So it's a win. And then like $1 million to 3, I think what starts to happen is like, there has to be a shift of like professionalization of the business. It's no longer like just running as mom pop style if you want it to continue to grow. There are businesses that do run it that way at that revenue range, but they're gonna stay stuck there if they don't change the way that they're running it. There's a few things that we notice, and just working with like clients, like we just see some of these things over and over again now, is at 1 to 3, oftentimes these business owners, they're hiring people when they were a lot smaller and giving them these titles that are the wrong titles. Like they hire their cousin that learned QuickBooks on YouTube and they call him their CFO.
I've heard you say this before. I was cracking up.
Yeah. So they like give all these titles out, and then they get to this 1 to 3 million, and their bookkeeper is called their CFO, and then now they're out of their depths because they don't know how to do financial forecasting. They don't know how to do any of the skills that would be required now at that bigger stage. And so it's like that holds them back. So like your team starts to hold you back if they're not growing. And, people are mistitled. And then also more team members start to get in the mix, and people don't have clear rules and lines of engagement of who does what in the business. So you have people like stepping all over each other. Yeah. Like I was literally, we have a client, he has a commercial, he's in Texas, and he has a commercial appliance company where they go in and service commercial appliances for like restaurants and hotel restaurants and stuff like that. And I was on a call with him this morning, and he's just like, oh my gosh, he's like, it blew my mind when we actually built out the team's accountability chart. And he's like, we had 4 people that were all touching customer service, and we were and I've been wondering for like a year why our customer service was so bad. And he's like, and now I know. Sometimes someone would answer, sometimes no one would answer. Sometimes they would confirm the appointment, sometimes no one was. So he's like, we had no consistent communication, but everyone was kind of owning it, so that meant no one was owning it, so it's like there's these crosses and teams that start to get jacked up in that range because more people are involved to do different things in the business. So kind of narrowing it down, it's getting clear on who owns what in the business and 1 to 3 is super important. Having the right people to do the roles in the business becomes more important because you need more talent and more skills. You can't just have generalized roles. Like you need to start specializing the roles. Like you can't have a catch-all person. You need someone that can run finance, can run marketing, or whatever the function of that business is. And the final thing is then, companies at that revenue range, I think they miss the mark where you have to start establishing the companies like the mission, the vision, the core values, because you start having a lot of people. Yeah. And you can't impact all of those people anymore as the owner, where you're not pouring into every single person every day. Because you could have 20 team members, 30 team members or more at that revenue range, depending on the type of business. Some home service companies have that. And if you don't have rules of these are our core values, this is our mission, this is our vision, you start hiring and then your message gets diluted, and then you get people that are not good team players. They don't interact right, and so then you get churn, you get turnover, you get negative customer reviews, and you're pulling your hair out, and you're like, why isn't Bob that Susie hired freaking following my values? And it's like, well, you never actually established them, and then you never taught anyone and actually how to hold them accountable to those values. So it's like all of these things start to get people stuck in that 1 to 3, I think.
100%. And you sound like you're speaking from experience here.
Yeah, it's pain and suffering.
Yeah.
So that leads me to what's the biggest challenge you've had to overcome in your entrepreneurial journey so far?
That's such a big one.
I know. There's probably been a ton, but anyone that stands out more than the others?
Yeah, there's so many challenges. I think it's just consistently just continuing to level myself up. We're our own bottleneck. We're, your leadership lid is the lid that either helps you rise higher or keeps you stuck. So just me being better so that I could better lead people, I think is just the constant challenge. And, it's you have to continuously get yourself calloused to dealing with bigger problems as businesses get bigger. And, I've had some really big losses through the years, and, I would say one of the most significant ones was when I was 21 and that network marketing company went under. And I was used to making money with it, and from 18 to 21, at that time it was good money. It's inflation makes it even worse now, but I was making 8 to 12 grand a month when I was 18, 19, 20, 21.
Which is crazy.
I was I'm balling.
You're balling.
Good.
Yeah. I was I'm good for life. And, and then when that company went under, I learned like money management's important, and like I had like blown everything. Like I spent everything. I had no money management strategy. I didn't know anything about it, and I was like, okay, you can't just make money. You have to like learn how to manage it and stuff, you know. And
that's so huge for anyone, business owners or not, but specifically business owners. I feel like you're so focused on growing the business and making the money that when you have it, you don't spend it wisely or you don't allocate it appropriately. And that's a huge part of being in a successful business long term, is that money management side.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. So that's what I would say is one of the biggest things, because it was just so painful. It was just so painful to like have like thought I was successful during that time and then have nothing to show for it at the end of that time. And then like feel like I was just restarting when I was 21, and I was just like, so, but it was a good lesson, because it created like an ego death for me. Cause I had an ego for sure. As you know, probably most 18-year-olds would, you know, if you're making good money. And so it was good because it like humbled me, and it like made me I was forever going forward. I was like, I am never too good to have bad things happen to me. Bad things happen to good people all the time. And, you know, I have to be a good steward. I need to steward money better. And so like I went down a path of financial management too. So,
Is there a financial management strategy or trick or tip you could tell somebody that's looking for that?
So 2 books. Book 1, T. Harv Eker, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind.
Love that.
I've probably read that book freaking, I don't know, 50 times in my life.
That's like a once a year read for sure.
Yeah, it's so good. And so that was how I modeled my personal money management philosophy, and have been modeling that. You know, I've adjusted the percentage recommendations based off of income going up or coming down. I'll adjust, but I've followed that for almost 11 years now. So that's something I've just stuck to. So that's for personal money management. For business, I think Profit First, or a variation of Profit First from Mike Michalowic's book, is the other one. So it's like, those are the only 2 books you need. You don't need to read any other finance management books.
It's so
T.
true.
Harv Eker for personal money management, Profit First for business. You're good.
Yeah, I love that.